We are a third generation company, started back in the 40s, primarily a screen printer for probably the first 50, 60 years, moved into multi-pass with EFI and Nazdar 15 years ago. Every few years it seemed we were going from the QS to a GS, outgrew the GS, went to HS 100, the 100 to the 125, and now an H5. Speeds have never really been there to take over screen printing up until now. The Nozomi is changing that. We've gotten rid of half of our screen printing equipment, and I think within the next couple of years, the rest of the screen printing equipment will, sort of follow that right out the door. A lot of it is the point of purchase for display companies. That's primarily been on the multi-pass. Nobody's ordering 1,000 of anything anymore. Everything's 100, 200. 250 is a big problem. Before, we were screen printing for AutoZone, for Scott's, Monsanto Bear, and those are in the tens of thousands of runs. HDPE, plastic corrugated, styrene are some of the bigger ones. On the Nozomi, we've really seen an uptick over the last, 2 months. A lot of cigarette signs, outdoor signs, pole signs, the Ballard post wraps. We've probably printed north of 50,000 of those in the last month and a half, and probably have another 50 to 100,000 to still print, and there's more on the horizon. As far as the in-store stuff, AutoZone was primarily, actually completely screen. Their orange does not, it's a 165 orange, never printed digitally, multi-pass. It felt very dirty, so they always wanted a spot color. So, for us, we were still able to do it. We were primarily their number one screen printer. We had a presentation with them. They approved the Nozomi's orange. Our Nozomi is equipped with orange ink. The orange ink has gotten us down below 2 on the delta value to keep, the customer happy. It was supposed to be a gradual thing, and they've more or less shifted pretty much everything over to the Nozomi and digital printing, which is, it's good for us. So I don't think that's going to stop. The job that we're actually printing now that you've seen, that was a 4 different setup on the processor. It was 5 colors, so for us, I know there's some 5-color processors, ours is a 4-color. It's going through every one of them twice, and some of them were, I would say half of the forms were printed 2 sides. And then we had one form that fit on our insignia going through once. So what we were doing it screened, your 32 plus screens for that job, plus setup, a 4-hour setup. We were 2.5 weeks, to print it. With the graphic that it is and constantly chasing the 4 different images on the sheet, it took us forever. With this job and with this press, we'll have that run in less than a day. Both sides, everything. And the color to the match print, not only is the quality better, but there's no, once we're printing, it stays steady. The orange is the same. We're not having to chase the orange and, constantly mix every 5-gallon bucket that we brought out there, and you're using probably 15 or 20 gallons of that orange, making sure every single screen matches for the next run. So it was always a challenge. So now we're not only printing it better, but we're printing it in a day opposed to, 2.5 weeks. Our make ready on this right now, 5 or 10 sheets at best. Some of them we're running, you're running the first sheet and it's good, you're running. Screen printing, we were printing 2 sides of 50 sheets and it's still, kind of chasing it. You could have, 100 sheets or so that you're still chasing color. Anything we've been quoting for years on the multi-pass, there are a lot of repeat jobs. Well, we're doing them with better quality now, the larger ones, and we can do them for 30% less, 40% less, and still make a huge margin on it. So the customers are happy, which is going to lead to more work, but the customers are happy because they're getting a cheaper product. We're happy we're getting, more work, but also getting more profitability out of it too. And we picked up quite a few new customers in the short time we've been doing it. Screen printing, it could take us 4 or 5 hours to set up just to put ink in the screens. In those 4 or 5 hours, I could have anywhere from 3,000 sheets done to 5,000 sheets done, depending on the size sheet. We ran 5,000 sheets of HDPE in less than 6 hours. And that was from start to finish, messing with the coatings and everything. So, before, in that 5 to 6 hours, they would still be setting up the printer, doing the make ready, getting the sheets. It's not even close. We're putting a lot less ink down, throwing a lot less ink away. Those are the underlying costs you don't see. With this, we're not purging like we were. Multi-pass, we got issues with purging in the past. This, you're doing a cleaning maybe every 6-8 hours. As far as multi-pass goes, it's just so much faster. It's so much faster. You're not chasing color. I can run a day's worth of work in there in an hour on the Nozomi. So I think that's where you're going to see. And those guys are willing to pay a lot of money. That multi-pass, it's a lot more cutthroat now, but certain people have their own, way of doing things. A lot of guys will run the 1 to 5 sheet runs, and that's their whole business. We'll do the 1 to 5 sheets, but we'll also do, on that multi-pass, we can run 2,000 sheets. So, for us, those jobs are going to move right over, and everybody will be happy. And I think the profitability is going to be way up. With the screen printing, it was Nazdar only as far as inks go. We've had that relationship for 25 plus years. But with the Nozomi and this new trial, we don't know anything about coding. And Tom and the Nazdar team kind of took it by the reins and gave us stuff to try, and when it doesn't work, they simply take it back, swap it out with something new. We don't want to mess with calling 5 suppliers. It's just easier. We have a relationship. We know Nazdar's not going to do anything to us. It's going to hurt our business. It's been a relationship we don't want to mess with, and that's why we're solely buying ink from Nazdar and half of our equipment. We've had good equipment and bad equipment, but Nazdar's always been, behind us fighting for the, the next thing and putting us in the position to buy stuff. And just today, you guys are telling me about software we didn't know anything about. So that'll be the next thing. It's having the team behind it, whether it's Tom or Dave or, Mike. We've known Mike for 15 years too.